Welcome to Crime in Court. This is part two of the motion to correct the state's many errors in the trial of Richard Allen. This is, of course, the Delphi case we are talking about, and Liberty German and Abigail Williams are the victims in this case. I also believe that Richard Allen is a victim in this case. I do believe he was railroaded by law enforcement, and in part one of this two-part video series, we went through the first half of the motion to correct errors and a bunch of different exhibits. We watched some videos with, you could see Brad Weber's white van going by in the screen. We watched those. So, and then as we went through the specific complaint or motion. So we're going to read the second half and continue doing the same. But before we do that, I wanted to first play this. This is like a 5-minute video news segment on News Nation. It aired almost a year ago. So here is this news segment. They're interviewing Ron Logan's ex-girlfriend. Ron Logan is the next person we're going to be learning about in this second part of the motion that we're reading.
I remember him from the Inside Addiction.
Liberty German shot this chilling image of the killer approaching the girls on a hiking trail, and she recorded the killer's voice.
What do you hear on there?
Nothing that I recognize at all. No one.
Listen to this is Ron Logan. Listen to this man's voice in comparison to the video or the segment of Down the Hill audio that we have from law enforcement.
The killer's voice.
What do you hear on there?
Nothing that I recognize at all. No one. I don't recognize the voice at all.
That sounds pretty similar. Let's see what the ex-girlfriend says.
Wow. That's your voice. And I heard that voice down the hill thousands of times. It's Ron Logan saying, down the hill. And I called.
So Ron Logan, if you don't remember, is the man whose property the girls were found on. So makes it even more suspicious.
I called the tip line.
Joining me now, News Nation senior national correspondent Brian Enton. So Connie Dillman seems so confident about this. Like, what else makes her think that it's her ex-boyfriend who's the killer?
Yeah, this was a big moment tonight, actually. We've never heard from Connie Dillman before. This is all brand new. So this is something we've never heard before. And let's also not forget in all this that Ron Logan is dead, by the way, for people who are following along. He died of COVID. But she...
Yes. So Ron Logan's no longer here, so if he did have anything to do with the girl's demise, there will be no justice, unfortunately, in that regard.
Basically says that he is a bad man, that he is a violent man, that she thinks that he did it, that he was violent with her in the past, and as you heard in that clip, that when she heard that voice, she thought right away that it was Ron Logan. Listen to a little more of what she said for the first time tonight about what kind of man this is.
Ron's property was right next to Monon High Bridge. He had some pasture, he had some goats and the horses. I moved in with him for a while, and it didn't really work out very well. He was controlling with me. Had to keep the house tidy and couldn't lay down on the couch. It just had to be the way he wanted it. But he wanted me there. It goes a little bit further than me in his life. I've pretty much a sex tool. Can we stop? Can we?
Yeah, we can stop.
Okay.
So Ron Logan has a girlfriend who he controls and uses for his own gratification. Wants to keep her around, but doesn't want her to do anything that disrupts his little bubble. So therefore, he controls everything around. Don't lay on the couch. Don't do this. Don't do that. Um, it's pretty dehumanizing when you live with someone who constantly tells you what to do or how to be or not be. Speaking from experience, not currently, but from past experience.
I don't know where that came from.
All right, so she took a minute to go compose herself. Now she's back.
When I didn't want to have sex, he forced it on me. And I was helpless. You know, I couldn't help myself. And when I did get away, he would always draw me back. One day, he had been working on putting a new door on the basement cellar, and I said I wanted to break it off with him. And out of the blue, he hit me over the head with the crescent wrench. And I remember taking off, running to my vehicle, and I remember falling to the ground. And I was afraid he was going to hit me again. So I was able to get on my hands and knees, and I crawled away. I got to my vehicle, and I was able to leave, and then I felt the blood running down my face. I barely remember the drive to the doctor's office, which is only a few miles to Delphi, and had 7 staples put in my head. But I actually went to my sister's after that. I'm lucky I got out of that situation, but it took a long time.
Yikes. I mean, if he's going to do that to someone who he calls his girlfriend or whatever he calls her, I don't know, someone that he's supposed to care about, a significant other, let's say, who's to say he wouldn't do that to some stranger's kids, potentially for his own gratification or for some kind of ritualistic something or other in the woods? Just saying. Is there any tie to Odinism and Ron Logan? That would be something to look into.
It really is stunning to hear her tell that story for the first time. She's obviously very, very emotional. And again, she feels confident, Connie does, that the wrong guy may be locked up, which is pretty startling to think about.
Not only that, but Ron Logan had kind of a weird alibi. And from what I remember 7 years ago, it didn't really check out.
So weird. So he claimed to police that he was going to a town outside of Delphi to buy tropical fish, and that he was with his cousin. But we later come to find out that when they looked into this, they talked to the cousin. The cousin didn't back that up. They were never able to clear that alibi.
So Ron Logan's alibi doesn't add up, and the girls were found on his property. He has a past of being violent and maltreating his even his significant others. So yeah, we've got a couple things against Ron here. So why did we clear him? Remember, Ron Logan is cleared.
Figure out if it was true or not. And even to this day, it seems like he lied about where he went.
Pretty specific when you're mentioning tropical fish, and easy to track that. But this is a small community, and they're not used to having double homicides, especially with kids. So
what does a small community and not being used to this have to do with his alibi not matching up? It's like the dumbest comment.
I mean, I've seen it happen. All right, so what about the property?
She's seen what happened.
Like, they did look at his property. They actually did investigate, but I feel like it might have been a long lag.
They did, but it was a month after the murders. So think about it. A month has gone by. There's so much that could have been done out there at that property in that time. A month.
A month is a long time
Yeah.
for anything.
Right.
I mean, even the weather.
And remember the sticks that were on the girls and arranged around the crime scene, the animal bones that apparently were there that you'll hear about. Um, I guess none of that was evidence. None of that needed to be collected by their crime scene people. It was more so just, I think it was staged. I think the whole crime scene was staged. Now that I'm thinking about it and more is coming out, and I want to go down, I'm going to go down like a whole other series of videos with you about the Delphi case, looking at some different angles. So I do want to I want to keep this case, you know, on the forefront. But anyways, um, now they're going to talk about the property here for one quick. This is almost over, and then I've got another video I want to show you.
Weather can take.
I mean, there were a lot of mistakes with this investigation, a lot of issues, and this just seems like it was another one.
But thank you for watching.
Okay.
This is something we've never heard.
A lot of mistakes and things. Where'd the video? I want to listen to his voice again.
Nothing that I recognize at all.
She recorded the killer's voice.
What do you hear on there?
Nothing that I recognize at all. No one. I don't recognize.
Guys, I think it sounds a lot like Ron Logan when you listen to them comparatively back to back. It really does. Let me know what you think down below if you think that that is Ron Logan's voice. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do a poll. Look on the side and let me know if you think that is Ron Logan's voice in that video. Now, we're going to hear more of Ron Logan's voice. So this is actually a very recent video that came out from True Crime Design. I've talked about this channel before. They've really gotten me like thinking about this case, watching their videos. And whether you believe kind of the things that they're showing you or not, they're not really like telling you what to feel or what to believe. They're just kind of showing you evidence and letting you, leading you to believe whatever you want. Sorry, I gotta sit up. My hips still hurt from yesterday. I had uh I had a doctor's appointment and my stupid handicap placard has not been it hasn't arrived. I've requested it twice. I gotta call them. But anyways, so I had a lot of walking to do yesterday. 6 weeks from surgery. So I'm still like strengthening that leg and stuff and PT is going stronger now. So PT is getting harder and that long walk yesterday just really wiped me out. So I'm still kind of not really ready to sit up, but I'm trying my best and I'm allowing myself on camera just because well, you guys don't care if I'm on camera or not, I feel like. So let me know if it matters. But anyways, let's move on to this next video. This is going to be a conversation between Ron Logan and some females, nameless females that are interviewing him. So let's see what he has to say about the Delphi homicides himself.
I'm not surprised. I thought this was down. What? Not murder, but when they put those trails in the middle of nowhere, I said, you're going to have all kinds of drug problems and all kinds of crap from this. This will draw every deviant in the world to it. I mean, we walked it a little bit. I was a little scared, because it was just us two. Yeah, they're gone. They're not going to do it again. Not here anyway. Do you think they're from here?
Does he know that? Because he did it. So you girls are safe. They're not going to do it again. Kind of sounds to me like he's reassuring them, like, no, you guys are fine. Because he knows that they're not going to do it again.
Oh, it's hard from somebody in the family for a long time. Did you really? Really. Why did you think that? Because it's too damn close. They can't see the forest from the trees. Right. looking right at them. But yeah, the person who done that could have been on the search team to look for them when they were missing. Right. I mean, they had people out here in my woods that night that they were looking for all over that place. Just didn't find him. Now, why did you not find a bed? Yeah,
Because I don't think that the girls were actually where they were found the next day. And there's plenty of reason to think that. And yeah, I'll get into that in a minute. But anyways, it just there were so many searchers that night, and it was in the middle of a clearing. How were the girls not found? And I don't think just being covered with sticks is going to cut it because I'm sure they were out there with flashlights and all sorts of things and looking for them. So I don't believe that the girls were there during the searchable hours when people were out. I think they ended the search around 1 or 2 in the morning. At that time, um, I don't think they came back until like 6 a.m. the next day or something like that. So, but I'll show you what I'm talking about, why I think that they were moved.
find that surprising too. And if that is a crime, with hundreds of people in my woods and walking up down the creek, tromping all over everything, what are you going to find? Right.
Yeah, the crime scene has been trampled by. They say there were 400 to 500 people that were searching that night. So again, how did they not find the girls?
Destroyed. Who found them? Huh? Who found them? Neighbor.
So a neighbor found them, Pat Brown, and I'm going to leave that to, if you want to learn more about Pat Brown, I recommend you go to True Crime Design's video. It was just posted 9 days called Delphi Exposed Debunking the Searched Timeline and Narrative, and I will link it below as well. I want to skip to another part in this video here. So right about here. So if you recall, whoops.
I have Apophis.
If you recall, there was some discrepancy as to the phone data and the Snapchat as to it was on Libby's phone and not and or not on Libby's phone, but it was in her Snapchat. So meaning someone could have done that, planted it, someone who had her password or something along those lines. So, anyways, here she's going to talk about that those photos being potentially photoshopped.
Support a fake timeline and lone killer narrative. Another part of this was discovering 2 sets of human remains in Deer Creek around the 13-minute mark.
I didn't go back far enough. Hold on. Okay. That's because she was talking over Matthew McConaughey's picture.
Found on the chopper footage. Now, just a heads up, this may trigger some who aren't familiar with my work on this case. But in seeking truth where it has been so meticulously distorted requires us to be uncomfortable sometimes. I've been telling you all for years to rethink this crime after discovering, alongside other creators like I Have Apophis, that the BG video and accompanying Snapchats are manipulated and planted to support a fake timeline and lone killer narrative. Another part of this was discovering 2 sets of human remains in Deer Creek around the 13-minute mark of the RTV chopper footage. This is just a snapshot of that footage.
So she's saying there were early reports that the bodies of the girls were found in the water, in the river. If you look and you're going to see like the water moving, obviously these are 2 rescuers or search and rescue, whatever. But if you look, it looks like this is a body and potentially that's Libby in the water. And then this is a cross. It almost looks like there's a cross here and another body tied to the cross. So that's True Crime Design's opinion. I I will let you guys decide what you think.
But it's the movement of the bodies in the water that gives it away. You are, of course, entitled to your beliefs and opinions, but I am positive about what I see here. So any efforts to gaslight will fall short. I shared the footage in question 2 years ago without a voiceover or anything, and YouTube age restricted the video. Not flagged for demonetization, age restricted. That's the only time that's ever happened on my channel. YouTube knows what's floating in that creek, whether we want to admit it or not. Libby is to the left, sort of floating on the surface, face down, possibly hogtied, and Abigail is to the right of her, naked on a burnt cross, in my opinion. Again, if you can't see this, that's just on you. I know what I see, and it's consistent with the first ever reports that the girls were found in or on the banks of Deer Creek.
2 bodies. Is that the Sugar Creek?
Deer Creek.
Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town.
This is a press release or a press conference the day they were found at 2 p.m. Okay, so they didn't have time to like shift the narrative yet. So here is what they say.
Deer Creek, sorry.
Deer Creek.
In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town.
Were they in the water?
They were on the edge of the water, from what I understand. That's about the best I can tell you.
He first said in the water and then said on the edge of the banks.
They were on the edge of the water. Is that the Sugar Creek?
Deer Creek.
Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town.
Were they in the water?
They were on the edge of the water, from what I.
In Deer Creek. He said, and then the reporter asked, were they in the water? He says on the edge of the water. But if you go back to that looks like on the edge of the water. It's on the water banks, right? I mean, do you guys see what True Crime Design sees?
Water.
They were on the edge of the water, from what I understand. That's about the best I can tell you.
Moreover, the FBI search warrant of Logan's residence concluded that it appeared the bodies were moved and staged, and I agree.
The FBI says it appears the bodies were moved and staged. Okay, so everything you think you know about this crime scene, you don't. They've done that on purpose. The state has done that purposely. They don't want you to know the truth. They are fully covering, railroading. The bodies themselves were staged in the rune-like way that they were, apparently. So, according to True Crime Design, you guys let me know what you think. I think she's onto something. I really do. She's got some really interesting perspectives on her channel. I recommend going over and watching the full video. It is about 35 minutes long. Hold on, let me readjust my hips. All right. Okay, so let's get back into our motion to correct errors. We're just on number 2 because the first one took the first half, but that's okay. Number 2 is Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis before May 15th, 2017 is newly discovered evidence entitling Mr. Allen to a new trial. So they're trying to get his sentence vacated or his convictions vacated because of all these errors. And if not, they're asking for a hearing, which we know Judge Gull's probably just going to deny without hearing anyways, but that's what they're asking for. And then when she denies without hearing, they will take it to the Supreme Court undoubtedly. So Dr. Kaur was the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsies of LG and AW, so Liberty and Abigail. His original opinion, which was held for years about how they both lost their lives, was that there were 2 weapons that were used. One, a serrated blade, and the other, a straight edge blade. For the first time in a trial, having had a eureka moment, At his tool bench, Dr. Core opined that the girls could have lost their lives by a single box cutter rather than two different knives. And this is like 7 years later he has this eureka moment, as the defense put it. Defendants Exhibit 4A, as attested to by Matthew Hoffman in Defendants Exhibit 4, is a redacted copy of a tip from the Orion database of tips dated May 15, 2017. In this tip, which the state has always had, Ron Logan is alleged to have confessed to Ricky Davis sometime before May 15th, 2017, so the same year that the crimes took place, while they were in prison together, that he had taken the lives of Abby and Libby. The material part of Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis, as it appears in Exhibit 4A, is reproduced below. So actually, let's just skip over to the defendant's Exhibit 4, affidavit of Matthew Hoffman. The affiant, Matthew Hoffman, upon his oath under penalty for perjury, says, I am an investigator who has worked for the lawyers representing Richard Allen. Included in the discovery provided by the state to the defense was a tip regarding Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis at the Newcastle Correctional sometime before May 15th, 2017. That tip was designated in the Orion tip file dated December 4th, 2023 as Investigative Thread 8578 and appears at pages 776 through 776 through 777, I'm assuming, of the PDF of the Orion tip file. Exhibit 4A is a redacted version of the tip about Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis. I have reviewed the original tip and compared it with the redacted tip that is Exhibit 4A. Exhibit 4A is a true copy of the original tip with only the personal information of the person who provided the tip and sensitive details about the coverage of the lead redacted. Exhibit 4B accurately reproduces the handwritten notes taken by Indiana State Police First Sergeant P. Hansard about his interview with Ricky Davis on June 21, 2017, at the Newcastle Correctional Facility regarding Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis. Those handwritten notes of First Sergeant Hansard are attached to the Indiana State Detective Wolf's lead narrative summary cover sheet, both of which appear in a PDF file named Document 2 PDF as provided to the defense. Exhibit 4C accurately reproduces a handwritten note signed by Ricky Davis dated June 21st, 2017. Ricky Davis's handwritten note is attached to the same lead narrative summary cover sheet and is contained in the same file as First Sergeant Hansard's handwritten notes. The affiant says, nothing more. Quoth the raven, nevermore. That just reminds me of that language back then. So we have Exhibit 4A and Exhibit 4B. So which ones? Oh, and 4C. So obviously, let's go in order. So Exhibit 4A is a true copy of the original tip with only the personal information of the person who provided the tip and sensitive details about the coverage of the lead is redacted. So that's this. So we have investigative thread. That's the number that it told us it was. Here it says hard filed, scanned and entered as an attachment submitted by Kathy Shank, 5/9/2023. So this was supplemental information apparently that they added. Narrative. On 5/15/2017, all the stuff redacted, contacted the FBI Public Access Line, or the PAL, unit to report a tip on the Delphi homicide. Redacted provided the following information. Redacted, Richie Davis is currently incarcerated at the Newcastle Correctional Facility. Business address 1000 Van Nuys Road, Newcastle, Indiana. Business telephone number, blah, blah, blah. Redacted received a call from Davis advising he is in the same block as Ron Logan, owner of the land where the Delphi homicide took place. Genrich reported Logan is in prison for parole violation. Logan confessed to Ricky step by step of the taking of the two girls' lives. Logan told Ricky how he burned his clothes in a fire pit and where it was located, used box cutters, and struggled with one of the girls and thought drops of his blood from his nose ended up on her clothes. Richie also advised that he took the life of the older girl first. Redacted said Richie wants nothing from this but justice for the girls. The reporting person is redacted and the residence is redacted. Discontinued. This is when the lead is discontinued due to no follow up with Ricky Davis. Ron Logan passed away on January 2022. So she closed his file and said, or closed this tip and said he's basically cleared. So we know now Kathy Shank was much more of an integral part of railroading Richard Allen and apparently clearing Ron Logan. So this is Exhibit B, the accurately reproduction of the handwritten notes taken by Indiana State Police First Sergeant Hansard about his interview with Ricky Davis on June 21st. So let us read that. It is horrible handwriting, not full sentences, so I'm going to do my best at reading what it says. And if I'm wrong, apologies. If I make a lot of mistakes, apologies, because look at this handwriting. But this is Sergeant Hansard's notes. Talking about knowing one of their dads, Ron walked with him. They turned and walked with him. I don't know. One of them wanted to turn around, grabbed the youngest shoulder and said it's okay. Oldest freaked out, got paranoid, and grabbed her. One said something about calling police. An essay wasn't true or known. I don't know. Wasn't true. Essay wasn't true. Originally not trying to are them. Paranoid about protection, felt he crossed the line when he grabbed the youngest. Maybe he grabbed them inappropriately. He started talking. Ironic, should have been in school talking to instead of talking to him. Knew one of their moms worked at a bar. Animals, is that the name of the bar? Walked with them, willing to go check at to check on their horses. So Ron Logan had horses and goats, like it said in that segment. So they wanted to go see the horses, and he said he told them he had rabbits in the barn. Walk through trail on weeds. They walked through the trail on the weeds. Didn't No, oldest was paranoid. Something warning. Didn't want to go. The oldest was paranoid. Didn't want to go with Ron Logan. I'm sorry. This is his handwriting. Youngest wanted to see the horses. He started talking ironic, should have been in school. Talking to them, knew one of their moms worked at the bar. This is repetitive. Um, the oldest tried to help the younger one. The oldest started talking. Almost looks like barking. The oldest started barking, but that's not what That wouldn't make sense. The oldest started something. Youngest agreed. This is horrible handwriting. He now grabs oldest. He said he got hit on the nose. Should be uh, scared that he got blood on one of the girls. He pulled out box cutter, slit oldest one, hit an artery. Youngest scared, etc. Took something. I have no idea. Took, I don't know, something him for a while. Never said where he said he cut her. So he never said where he cut Abby, but he said he cut both of them on their necks. He left again, came back. Oh, okay, so he left and came back. He came back in the evening. Search something on later. Search something on later on late hours. Tried to move oldest one to area not going to be found. Please, police were on four-wheelers around. Oh, place were. Sorry, this is this is horrible handwriting. Something about four-wheelers going around. Go brush his clothes or burned his clothes in something in a burn pile. Walking boots, gloves, cold something of boots, be something in burn pile. Your guess is as good as mine on these. Next morning, two older girls knocked on door, asked to search on property. Feel weird if he said no. He let them take off, got a hold of family member, and he set out of the area. So these girls knock on his door the next day after he does this crime, and the girls are out there somewhere in either in the creek or near the creek in a clearing. And so these girls come to his door, knock, ask if they can search. He says it would be weird if he said no, so he's like, yeah, go ahead. And then he gets a hold of a family member and he leaves. So what are you guilty of? Guilty conscience munch? All right, so first, something from Jeopardy. I have no idea. Something guns. During struggle, youngest got, I don't know, his handwriting has gotten even sloppier. And then he does some math. Awesome. 3 months from, it almost looks like Pendleton. He got here 2 months in for something dorm originally have together. Something helped him with that. Somebody helped him with his account. Stated talking uncomfortable circumstances in custody, talking about it at beginning, modifying something, changes, etc. Modifying the county charges, etc. Talking, walking, first mail. What? These notes are illegible now. Okay, I'm moving on. So that was our no, Sergeant whatever's notes, Sergeant Hansford's notes. This is not much better, but we'll get through it. This is Richie Davis's statement. Mr. Logan has spoken referring to the homicides in Delphi, Indiana. He told me he was the one who had KILL the girls, that it got out of hand. He walked with them in the woods and his property. The girls wanted to turn back and said something about calling the police. He grabbed the youngest girl to reassure her it was okay. However, they panicked and he also panicked. He indicated he ended up cutting the oldest with a box cutter. He went on telling me that he took the life of both of them because it was taken too far. Ricky Davis, 6/21/17. So this is like 4 months after the homicides. We had someone confessing to it in prison to another inmate. And and it was reported, so why was nothing done on this? This really makes me angry. All right, so what's the next one we have? Sorry, so that was B. Nope, that was C. That last one was C. That was Ricky Davis's thing. This next one we'll hold for when we get to it. All right, so here is back to the filing. This is the particular motion to correct errors. So the material part of Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis, as it appears in Exhibit 4A, is reproduced below. Logan confessed to Ricky step by step of taking the lives of the two girls. Logan told Ricky how he burned his clothes in a fire pit and where it was located, used box cutters, and struggled with one of the girls and thought drops of blood from his nose ended up on her clothes. Ricky also advised that he took the life of the older girl first. And at some point, I missed this footnote. It says Mr. Allen also said that he shot the girls in the back and buried them in shallow graves. Neither of the girls were shot in the. We read that already. Oh, so that was from the last. That was from up higher. We didn't miss it. Good. All right, so moving on. Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis, as reflected in the tip in the Orion database, and made a mere 3 months after the girls, sorry, 3 months, not 4, yeah, correct. 3 months after the girls' lives were taken, was detailed. Law enforcement followed up on the tip. Defendant's Exhibit 4B, as attested to by Matthew Hoffman in Exhibit 4, accurately reproduces the handwritten notes taken by Indiana State Police First Sergeant P. Hansard about his interview with Ricky Davis on June 21st, 2017 at the Newcastle Correctional Facility regarding Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis. These handwritten notes of First Sergeant Hansard are attached to Indiana State Police Detective N. Wolf's lead narrative summary cover sheet as it was provided to the defense in discovery. First Sergeant Hansard's notes of his interview with Ricky Davis about Ron Logan's confession provide even more detail. Hard as they are to decipher, the subject to debate and correction, those notes reveal the following about Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis. Page 1 of Exhibit 4B, reproduced below. It seems to say, talking about knowing one of their dads, to walk with them. One of them wanted to turn around. So he pretended to know one of their dads, I guess, or maybe he did know one of their dads just to walk with them. One of them wanted to turn around. He grabbed the youngest's shoulder to say it's okay. The oldest freaked out. One said something about calling the police. SA wasn't true. So the theory about SA, Ron Logan says, wasn't true. Originally not trying to go are them. Paranoid about probation. That's what that word was. He was paranoid about probation. So he didn't want to get busted going back to prison. He felt like he crossed a line when he grabbed the youngest one. The top half of page 2. So what? Just like grabbing her and saying it's okay. He felt like that was crossing the line. So after that, he couldn't stop and he had to take their lives because you grabbed them to say okay. Like you didn't have to take their lives on top of it. So he obviously had ulterior motives if he wanted to walk with them. And then they say they want to turn away. Why can't she turn around? Why can't they turn around and leave if he doesn't have some kind of ulterior motive? So the top half of the second page of Exhibit 4B is reproduced below. The bottom half of the page duplicates the top half. It seems to say he started talking ironic, should have been in school. Knew one of their mom's waitress at a bar. Animals. Walked with them, willing to go check out horses. He XXX, so they don't know what that says. He told them he had rabbits in the barn. Walk through trail in the woods, not the weeds, the woods. Um, Oldest was paranoid, didn't want to go. Youngest wanted to see the horses. So pretty much, I mean, we got the gist of that too from reading it. The top half of the page 3 of Exhibit 4B is reproduced below, and here is what it seems to say. Oldest turned to the youngest. The oldest started looking or kicking, not sure, and the youngest seemed something, and then he now grabs the oldest. He said he got hit on the nose, scared he got blood on one of the girls. He pulled a box cutter out, he slit one, hit an artery. The youngest was scared, etc. Told little girl with him for he took the little girl with him for a while. Never said where. So according to this, he took Abby's life first, then he took the younger girl, Abby, but we don't know where. He said he cut her to cut both necks. So he cut Libby on the neck. Is that what we're getting? It still doesn't totally vibe for me that this is necessarily true or not, but just the fact that Logan said these things and he's cleared, but Richard Allen, who has supposedly confessed to less, is sitting in prison. And the only reason he confessed was because they put him under Halidol and in solitary confinement for months and months and months on end to make him go crazy. They induced psychosis on purpose to make him confess. That's the only reason they have any kind of sort of confessions from him. But not because we really don't have anything other than that one note that he wrote that was under duress when he was under Halidol. And any other confessions that we have are from Dr. Walla, whose actual notes that she took during her treatment of Richard Allen, she destroyed. So we just have to take her word for it now. Makes no sense. All right, so on this page, they're saying it seems to say that he left again, came back later in the evening. The search was going on. Later on, late hours, tried to move oldest one to area not going to be found. Place where four-wheelers go. So maybe he took her where the four-wheelers are stored or something. I don't know. He burned his clothes in a burn pile. Then it said hiking or could be walking, boots, gloves, and bags. So he burned a bunch of stuff. And this next page seems to say soles of boots, something in burn pile. Next morning, two other girls knocked on his door, asked to search the property. He felt weird if he said no. He then he let them take off. He got a hold of a family member and got out of the area. This next page seems to say first time he's seen them from the property, home, etc., guns, etc. During struggle, youngest girl, not something happened to friend to stand there, head, neck, artery. So as you can see, his notes are very all over the place, not forming sentences, but that's their impressions of what, yeah, that does look like neck artery, head, back of the head, neck. I don't know. Anyways, okay, so that was the defense's interpretation of what these pages say. We went through it. We got very similar impressions. So, Defendant's Exhibit 4C is a handwritten note signed by Richie Davis, dated June 12, 2017, the same day that First Sergeant Hansard interviewed him. That handwritten note is attached to the same lead narrative summary cover sheet and is contained in the same file. Okay, so here Ricky Davis's handwritten note about Ron Logan's confession to him says, Mr. Logan has made reference to the homicides in Delphi, Indiana. He told me he was the one who had taken the lives of those girls, that it got out of hand. He walked with them in the woods to his property, and the girls wanted to turn back. Said something about walking the blank. He grabbed the youngest girl to reassure her it was okay. However, they panicked and he also panicked. He indicated he ended up cutting the oldest with a box cutter. He went on telling me that he took took the lives of both of them because it was taken too far. So, again, that's what I read on the page. Pretty clear that's what the words were, even though it was very difficult to read, it was pretty clear. So, in addition to the other, it was better handwriting than Hansard's, that's for sure. So, in addition to the other details that fit the known facts, Ron Logan confessed to Richie Davis that he used box cutters to take the girls' lives. If instead of for the first time at Mr. Allen's trial, Dr. Core said 7 years later, he said that the girls could have been their lives could have been taken by a box cutter, that their injuries were from that. There would certainly have been probable cause to arrest and charge Ron Logan with the girls' homicides if Dr. Core had that thought 7 years earlier. But nope, it took him 7 years to have that thought. And then somehow they matched that to, well, Richard Allen worked at CVS, so he obviously has a box cutter. And it was him. Case solved. Yeah. As it was, the FBI, 2 months before Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis, had obtained a judicial finding of probable cause to search Ron Logan's property. Under the circumstances, Dr. Core's trial testimony about a box cutter possibly being used to take the girls' lives makes Ron Logan's confession to Ricky Davis newly discovered evidence that would either be admissible through Ricky Davis Indiana Evidence Rule 804b3 or through First Sergeant Hansard under the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. So, the other thing, too, and let's not forget, Judge Gull did not let the defense even mention Ron Logan's name. So, the fact that Ron Logan wasn't even allowed to be discussed and the prosecution brought up, they opened the door for the box cutter because their own witness, the ME, said 7 years later he changed his theory and said that it was a box cutter and not two different kinds of knives. So that should have brought this in to trial, but they were excluded to even. They should have raised issue at the moment, but when you're at trial, so much is going on, and you probably little things can slip, unfortunately, or they didn't even have time to maybe even investigate it. When you're in the middle of a trial, when something new comes out, you don't really have the time or the resources to go and stop the trial and go look into it. So Ron Logan's confession exculpates Mr. Allen and would probably produce a different result at a retrial. Accordingly, the court should either vacate Mr. Allen's convictions or set the motion for a hearing. Number 3, Defendant's Exhibit 5 The affidavit of Stacy Eldridge states that dirt or water damage to the phone could not have caused the auxiliary jack of LG's phone to log wired headphone plugged in and wired headphones plugged in. Ms. Eldridge's expert opinion is newly discovered evidence that would probably produce a different result at a new trial. So let's skip over here to Miss Eldridge. Her affidavit comes now. The affiant, Stacy Eldridge, under pain and penalty of perjury, and states the follows: I am over 18. I received a bachelor's of science in management information systems. I received a master's of science in computer information systems. I provide digital forensics and mobile forensics services through my businesses, Silicon Prairie Cyber Services, LLC. I am an adjunct professor where I develop and teach digital forensics and mobile forensics courses. I also teach cybersecurity. I am also an adjunct professor where I teach cybersecurity and digital forensic courses. So she teaches at two different universities, Oklahoma State and Bellevue University. It was the director of cybersecurity at Lincoln Electric System she was the director from 2017 through 2019. I was a staff cyber investigator and program manager at General Electric from 2012 through 2017. So this person is well qualified. They worked for the FBI from 2003 to 2012 as a digital forensic instructor and computer analysis response team senior forensic examiner. So she's quite qualified, and here are all of her certifications. I'm not going to read them all, but she has many, some from the FBI and Cellbrite. Look at that. See, that's what we need for the Karen Reed trial, is someone who's certified in Cellbrite. Even though you don't necessarily need to be certified to read a Cellbrite report because they're like so mind-numbingly easy to read that anyone could do it, but a Cellbrite certification is probably something that Karen Reed's team should look into for an expert in that case. Anyways, all right, so Access Data Certified Examiner. She's got all these different qualifications: phone, forensic data. All right, so she's also served as an expert witness in the following cases. And you can see she served in Indiana State versus Richard Allen. The data from Liberty German's iPhone 6S showed that wired headphones were plugged into the phone at 5:44 p.m. So if you recall from trial, this was kind of like a bombshell. Something was plugged into the phone and then removed from the phone at two different times of the day. And this was way past the time of when the phone stopped moving, according to the state's expert. And meaning somebody had to manually do this. And they said that the girls had already been, that their lives had already been taken at this time at 2:30 is when the crimes occur, around approximately 2:30. But we've got something being plugged into the phone at 5 p.m. and then something was unplugged at 10:32 p.m. on February 13th. This was the only evidence of any wired headphones ever being plugged in or removed from the phone. So potentially, Libby didn't even have wired headphones. Maybe she had earbuds, Bluetooth. So she didn't have wired ever. So that's interesting that someone plugged something in. A wire was plugged in. A wire that had never been plugged into Libby's phone ever before suddenly gets plugged into her phone at 5:44 p.m. and unplugged at 10:32. Apple iPhone 6s were equipped with sensors to indicate water damage. There was no indication in the data from Ms. German's iPhone 6S that indicated that the sensor indicated water damage to the phone. I would expect to find evidence of the water damage notification that is displayed to the user to be present on the iPhone. I reviewed the following extractions and reports produced by the state of Indiana in discovery in this matter. Cellbrite Logical Extraction Report and data created by Indiana State Police First Sergeant Brian Bunner. Cellbrite Method 1 through 3 Extraction Report and data created by Indiana State Police First Sergeant Bunner in October. A digital forensics examination initial report created by Indiana State Police First Sergeant Christopher Cecil on August 21st, 2019. Digital forensics examination supplemental report created by the Indiana State Police, also Christopher Cecil, on August 18th, 2024. So last year, did a report. None of the above reports or extractions contain evidence of dirt or water damage to Liberty German's iPhone 6S, nor did they indicate that it was particularly dirty or covered in debris. I reviewed photos of Liberty German's iPhone 6S taken by the Indiana State Police. The iPhone does not appear to be wet, dirty, or covered in debris in any of the pictures. No pictures were taken of the iPhone displaying a message indicating that the liquid had been detected, that any liquid had been detected. No pictures were taken of the control center of the iPhone 6S to document the headphones were being reported as being plugged in when they were not. I reviewed the chain of custody for Liberty German's iPhone 6S and it did not document that it was received with a wet, dirty, or damaged condition upon receipt. iPhones that have recent water damage are known to reboot spontaneously, requiring multiple attempts to complete the extraction with forensic tool. No instances of this were documented. So if you recall, this came out on the stand that something was plugged in and plugged and then unplugged, and then somebody got back on the stand for the state to rebut it, saying that they did a quick Google search and they said that that iPhone says that if there's debris or water in that port, it can incorrectly say that it detected something being plugged in, which this is an affidavit basically proving that's not true. I reviewed the chain of custody and it did not document if it was wet, dirty, or blah, blah, blah. iPhones that have recent water damage are known to reboot spontaneously. No instances of this were documented by the Indiana State Police. I am currently unaware of any scientific or technological research suggesting that water or dirt damage to any iPhone 6S would cause the phone to inaccurately log wired headphones in or wired headphones out. I affirm under penalty of perjury that the above statements are true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. Stacy R. Eldridge. So we've got an expert now who's an experty expert. She's an expert for the feds. Says that didn't happen. Your lame excuse that you used at trial did not happen. Just didn't. All right, so at trial, Mr. Allen introduced evidence through the testimony of Stacy Eldridge, a digital and mobile forensics expert, that someone plugged wired headphones into the auxiliary jack of LG's phone at 5:44 p.m. on February 13th and unplugged it on 10:32 p.m. the very same day. To counter this, the states offered the results of a seat of the pants Google search by First Sergeant Cecil, the state's phone expert. So this is a phone expert he's a cop first, an expert on data second. Okay, let's just say that because he's First Sergeant Cecil. So his expertise is policing. Secondly, he's a phone expert. Maybe if he even got, half of the half of the certifications that Stacy has. Remember all of those. All right, so according to the first Sergeant Cecil, the Google hearsay told him in his expert opinion. So the Google search told him this. It's supposed to be his expert opinion on what he believes the data shows, not just some Google search, but probably he was told to go find out something to say to excuse this auxiliary cord being plugged in, excuse it away. So that was the best he could do. But that's not an opinion. A Google search that you just happen to do on the fly, that's not an expert opinion. So uh, saying that the log on LG's cell phone showing wired headphones were plugged into the auxiliary cord and then unplugged the same day could have been caused by dirt or water damage to LG's cell phone. The defense had no opportunity to counter First Sergeant Cecil's expert, he put it in quotes, expert opinion courtesy of Google. That's funny. The court should read Ms. Eldridge's affidavit, Exhibit 5, in its entirety, but the short version of Ms. Eldridge's actual expert opinion is nothing in the data on LG's phone indicated there had been water damage. None of the reports or extractions related to LG's phone created by law enforcement officers reflect dirt or water damage to the phone. Photographs of LG's phone taken by the Indiana State Police do not show the phone to be wet, dirty, or covered by debris. Ms. Eldridge is unaware of any scientific or technological research suggesting that water or dirt damage to an iPhone 6 would cause the phone to inaccurately log wired headphones in or wired headphones out. According to the Apple Health data on LG's iPhone 6s, the phone stopped moving at 2:32 p.m. on February 13th. At trial, the state contended LG and AW died close to that time, and AW hid the phone under the body before she died. The state also provided testimony by former Delphi Police Chief Steve Mullen and Indiana State Police Lieutenant Jerry Holman. There was no evidence that Richard Allen returned to the location where the bodies were found after alleging being spotted by Sarah Carbow at 3:50 when he was Sarah Carbow was the one driving by and saw someone standing on County Road 300 North. And that supposedly is Bridge Guy, supposedly aka Richard Allen. If Ms. Eldridge's actual expert opinion that wired headphones were plugged into LG's auxiliary port at 5:44 p.m. on February 13th, 2017, and unplugged almost 5 hours later were credited by a jury, the state's narrative is impossible. Someone other than Richard Allen was handling LG's phone multiple times long after the state contended Mr. Allen left the scene before 4 p.m. on February 13th. Ms. Eldridge's opinion that dirt or water could not have caused LG's phone to log wired headphones being plugged into and unplugged from the phone on February 13th exculpates Mr. Allen and would probably produce a different result at trial. Accordingly, the court should either vacate Mr. Allen's convictions or set this motion for a hearing. The matter set out and attested to above, taken individually or cumulatively, why I couldn't say that, I don't know. Cumulatively, entitle Mr. Allen either to have his convictions vacated. So all three of these things combined, he should definitely have his convictions either vacated or have a hearing on those matters set. Conclusion: for the foregoing reasons, Mr. Allen respectfully requests that the court either vacate his convictions or set the matters above for hearing and for all other just and proper relief in the premises. And this was signed Andrew Baldwin, Jennifer Auger, and Bradley Rosie. And Andrew Baldwin certified its filing. So there you have it. We have gone through now the second part. Let me sit up again for my closing, just so I'm on camera a little bit more. All right, my hips, man, I gotta slouch because it just hurts. Anyways, thank you guys so much for being here and for reading along with me. I know some of this stuff can get dry, boring, whatever, but I think it's important that we read through it and that we learn from what is happening in our justice system. What is our justice system justice? That's the big question. With many of the cases that we're following lately, it just does not seem so. But it seems like we're starting to turn a corner maybe in this case by reading through this filing. I think maybe we're turning a corner. Maybe we have a really good standing for appeal, especially, not just appeal, but like not for a new trial, but vacate his sentence, vacate his conviction, and try to get the corrupt people who actually helped railroad him. And then the people who actually did the crimes, that would be good. And if it is Ron Logan and there's um, no justice there, at least we'll know the truth. And we need to know the truth. The family needs to know the truth. The family may know some things that are true that they're not letting on. I think the family does know more than they let on. But anyways, um, yeah, it's tough when you've already got the conviction because so much is against the convict. Let's call him that now because he is a convict, but I don't consider him guilty. But he is now a convict and part of the Department of Justice, and they are again they sent him to the same place where they were torturing him in solitary before. So that's a very scary, very real thing that's happening, and I know the attorneys want to help get him at least in a better situation, if not out of prison for good, because they do believe in his innocence. I believe in his innocence. Let me know what you think down below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye now. Whoops.